mic test, 1, 2, 1, 2, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. I got a gal in Kalamazoo. I'm sorry, I use some levity to break down my nervousness on camera and everything I've been through. Okay, here we go. My name is James Faraci. I was born here in Liberty, New York. I met Will Hauser at a family event in 2000. He was a cousin, distant cousin on my mom's side. He lived in California, and he discovered a love of ocean and a desire to protect it at the same time. I was developing a love for movie making. I discovered he and I were diagnosed with Asperger's around the same age. He met her in 2016. Her name was Madison Nepshank, and that's the only reason I know she exists is because of two associates of hers, Nat and Liam. When Nat first met Madison, she didn't like Madison at all, and Liam, he was a mensch, but he was a good guy, but totally clueless. I mean, some good things happened once everything kind of like cooled off from the initial reaction. They had to deal with Stanley primarily because he kidnapped Madison's sister, Valerie. My cousin Will, he's focused. He was focused on goals. One of them being creating a tracker that he'd been working on since he was a kid. I inadvertently helped him by giving him a fish finding device my dad had. Sorry, Dad. From what was told to me, they were able to convince Stanley to help them find Valerie. Will had fallen for Madison hard during that time after he got the tracker back, but again, he's autistic and I have autism, and it kind of makes things a little more difficult for us to express ourselves verbally or in some form or fashion. Will missed out for Christmas, but he made up for it on Valentine's Day. About, I'd have to say August 2017, Madison and Valerie had moved in with Nat and Stanley in that point, and they had set up a successful YouTube channel, and there was this one fan who wanted to join them. Apparently, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this earlier, Madison and Valerie, they have this mirror that's apparently an Aegean relic, and once that's shattered, apparently someone named the Barnacle King, who, based from what I was told, he was a complete and total smelthead, and he caused Madison to lose her tail and be amongst the humans, and both Madison and Valerie were banned from returning to their kingdom, so I heard. They also met someone else by the name of Beatrice, who gathered from what I know about this, is that she was a warning to Madison if she lost hope. I eventually did contact both Will and Madison during this point, and they told me about it, and I did offer positive advice, but I knew Will enough to know better. He had Asperger's, I have Asperger's, So once everything kind of like was good in his mind, there was nothing to basically say, okay, time to return to the old status quo. Okay. We didn't, what Madison and Will didn't know was that there was someone else, or something else, while Valerie was working on fixing the mirror. Apparently there was demons that were trapped in some place where, the same place where Valerie was working on the mirror. And apparently the Barnacle King had a secondary plan which involved all the relics. And God bless Stanley. Stanley's a mensch. He went in to discover what that Smelthead's plan was. And unfortunately, we didn't find out till it was too late. I didn't find out till it was too late. What he had done was created a barrier around all the fresh and saltwater access points on Earth. Around that time, my brother was on a boat fishing trip, and my nieces got out. My brother died. He was trapped for weeks, and eventually supplies were getting scarce. I called Will. I was wondering, what the hell do I do to get my brother out of this mess? Thankfully, Mass and Will had plans, and they had to take on, even I don't believe this, an ancient mantis god. They were able to defeat it eventually and take down the barrier. And thankfully my family was there to be with my brother, and we got one whopper of a shower and haircut. Will, after the holiday season of 2017, he had told me about their holiday called, I think it's pronounced Aquanania. It's supposed to give like Hanukkah and Kwanzaa a run for their money. And they celebrated Valentine's Day together again. And it was a good time for them, I think. But it was around March, 5 years ago, when I noticed certain things were happening. There were salmon marching out on the streets, and it was raining killer sharks. I even saw a pod of whales, killer whales, flying, trying to run me and my mom off the road. It was sheer and total absolute madness. And I decided to call up Will and tell him what was going on, but he was busy again. Will had gotten some sort of device around the Aquananian time. When Madison would be nearby, they'd get a call from her. She did send Beatrice in to basically send a message to Will to find the mirror. Will found it, but they eventually got Madison's message telling them not to go to rescue Valerie and Madison. But I've known Will for a long time. He is dedicated, and when he puts his mind onto something, he does it. And so he actually sold his device to his father for flight fare, so that he and Liam and Stanley could fly to the other side of the world. Um, it was the last time I ever had contact with him. Not long after he left, and I'd say about 2 weeks later, probably 3, everything was slightly normal again. I mean, there was this group called the Sea Cops who had told me that I had to remain silent about these events for as long as I could. But I just couldn't stay silent. I didn't want Will to be forgotten. So what I had done was come up with a Facebook group page titled "Where in the World Was Will Hauser?" And I got several messages to say take it down, and finally I took it down. Long after that, I got a message from Liam and Nat de la Peña Vega del Rio, and they led me to a safe deposit box that had a letter. And it said that letter read the following: James, by the time you read this, I found myself, I've married Madison, and we are saving the oceans on our end. Please send my love to everyone in the family, and do your best on your end to help the oceans out as well. Hope everything will be alright for you. Your cousin, Will Hauser.